Okay, hello everyone. Good afternoon. I hope you're doing well. I am Ryan McCrary. I'm the CEO and founder of McCrary Financial Solutions LLC. Also, am a big part of I Buy Black, ibuyblack.org. I'm here with a great guest today, amazing woman, Deborah Kelly. She is the author of the Turnaround Parenting Tips for Improving Your Child's Academic Success, how to make your child smarter, learning ready, and non-violent. First thing I want to do is welcome our guest today. How are you doing today?
Fine, Ryan. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for being here. I know you have a busy schedule, but just thank you for allowing us to, get a little bit of your time, get some information from you. Before we get started, just let people know, where you from, who you are, and just what your background is.
Okay. Well, my name is Deborah Kelly. I am a retired teacher and certified parenting educator. And I decided to write this book as a teacher because I saw so many smart children, students, who just were not functioning to their highest capabilities. And I would ask them about their home life, and they would say that they see their parents very little, that they don't eat meals with their parents, that their
Hmm.
parents are busy. And I can understand it, making money and providing for them. But somehow we as parents have forgotten that we need to interact because we have the biggest influence over our children's success. So that's the reason I wrote this book.
Okay, great. And we'll definitely get to the book in a moment. I have my copy. I can't say I haven't read it yet. I've been when I first got it, I was in the middle of reading a book and I've not even finished that book yet. So I'm definitely going to read it, but I have my copy. We're definitely going to talk about this. But
Okay.
before we even get there, so you said you are a retired teacher, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, what was this experience like? I guess teaching in general. Like, did you see it over the years change, or just what was your entire career like?
I definitely saw the success of our children change
Mm-hmm.
when it became more important for us to make a living and make money and to get ahead, and status was very important. I saw that we didn't realize the influence and didn't realize how important it is to interact with our children every day.
Mm-hmm.
And when I looked at the success overall, because of course there were a lot of African American students who are doing well, but there are too many who were not doing well, too many who were functioning below basic level.
Mm-hmm.
And we know our history and what we've accomplished many, many years ago, coming from Africa and Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
We were the leaders in the world. We started universities. We started mathematics and science and civics. We started all of that. And I would hear students say, "Oh, I don't like math, and I can't do it, and I can't do this." I was saying, "Why not? Your ancestors started it.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, you are very capable of doing it." But something was lost along the way. It's important that we start the learning process before, way before 5 years old. It should be started from birth because the ability to learn actually decreases at 5 years old. So if parents are starting that process of talking to their children or sending them to a formal school at that time, they're deficit when they start because they should have been talking to their children from birth, instilling certain things, expanding their ability to learn by putting as much information and knowledge in their children's heads as possible. We
Mm-hmm.
as teachers teach best. We're more effective when we can build upon previously learned information and knowledge. And when there's nothing there to build upon, what happens is those children are in classrooms possibly with other children who know more. So the teacher is going to teach to those who are prepared and ready to learn. And those students who are not prepared to learn are kind of relegated to the edges of the classroom and not really taught to. So what happens to that child who is smart and realizes they're not being taught to? They become behavior problems. They say, "You're going to notice me and see me," because everybody wants to be seen, heard, and validated.
Mm-hmm.
And they become behavior problems. And then that reputation carries them throughout their educational process. from first to 12th grade, unfortunately, because those records follow them. And it's such a shame because they could have been developed into individuals who are ready to learn, who have knowledge and information on which to build. Oprah Winfrey didn't get there by herself. She tells a story of how her father, when she went to live with him, made her read a book a week. Now, I don't know where Oprah would have been today if she had not read that book a week, because this is instilling knowledge. It's the process of learning that's so important, because we should be able to teach ourselves. That's the goal, not to have somebody teach us, but to gain the knowledge and experience to teach ourselves, because it's lifelong learning. Children who succeed in spelling bees, you ask them, how did you get so smart? They'll say, oh, my mom or my dad taught me these words and showed me where to get the words. And they would, we would go through practices and exercises every day, way before they got to that spelling bee. So we have to tell parents that they have the biggest influence, so they can develop their children into more than I see in the classroom.
Absolutely. And I do see some people just came in on Facebook. If you're watching on Facebook, please drop a comment in. Please please put some hearts up. Please share this information. If you just joined, I'm talking to Deborah Kelly. She's the author of this book, The Turnaround: Parenting Tips for Improving Your Child's Academic Success, How to Make Your Child Smarter, Learning Ready, and Nonviolent. Me, Ryan McCrary, I'm representing iBuyBlack.org. iBuyBlack.org. That is our sponsor for today. If you haven't already, please go to iBuyBlack.org. iBuyBlack.org. You can get a $10 discount card. If you are a business owner, you can go in and put your business. We have, I think, close to 600 businesses now. Put in there, be part of the network. It's free advertisement. And our main goal is for people to support Black-owned businesses more, redirect those dollars back into our community, back into our businesses. That is why we can hire more people, reduce crime in our neighborhoods, and so forth and so forth. So what is your perspective on just the state of education today? I know, like you said, we started math and the sciences and all that. In slavery, we were whipped for reading. We wanted to read, but we were chastised for that. Now in the situation where it doesn't cost anything to learn and to read, and you see people would rather do a lot of other things as opposed to reading and learning. So just what's your perspective on the current educational state, especially in our community?
I think we're still suffering from the legacy of slavery. Those patterns are generational, and we parent the way we were parented. And unfortunately, slavery only ended, 170 years ago?
Yeah.
How many generations is that? And sometimes parents don't know what to do. Our children don't watch us reading enough. We don't read to our children enough. Before they even are able to sit up, we should be reading to them. This is setting patterns in our family that were whipped out of us years ago. And unfortunately, we didn't get any counseling after slavery, and we really should have.
Exactly.
We were just thrust out there and said, develop a family, raise your children. And we did not know, we didn't carry over those abilities, those patterns from Africa. We lost all of that.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I hear myths today still going on. Like, let that baby cry in the crib. Don't pick them up all the time. You're spoiling them. No, that is not so. You can't spoil a baby before the age of 2. And that's still controversial in our community about letting them cry. How do we not know that they're wet or they're hungry or they just need some comforting? We should be able to recognize a cry. And, that's a whole different topic in terms of recognizing the cry of your child. But how do we know that they just don't need comforting? In the womb, it's 121 degrees. They're thrust out into the world. Yeah, they need comforting. There's pain in their development sometimes, and we should pick them up every time they cry. When you see African women raising their children, those children are always with them. Even if they're in the field, they're strapped to them. They're strapped to their backs. Mm-hmm. They're with them all the time. So I don't know where that myth came from. Probably because, we needed to, they wanted us to do other things instead of raising our children. But it's important to give our children what they need, to satisfy their needs. That's important.
Mm-hmm. Great.
If we don't satisfy their needs, they'll never become what's called self-actualized.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
To see the world in a brighter place, to see it as an optimistic place, to feel that they have power in the world, to be outward centered, to be risk takers, to be able to love, be able to maintain loving relationships, to be self-actualized. There is an emotional process that children have to go through and need. Mm-hmm. And we need, as educators, as parents, we need to be educated in what to do and why with our children. And in this book that I wrote with 26 lifestyle tips, it's a step-by-step process, and I give the reasons why parents should be doing in the homes, because that's the biggest influence. Because teachers can't turn it around, especially when they get to high school. And if they feel they're unsuccessful, they're going to act unsuccessful. If children feel that they're bad and that their future is dim, that's how they're going to act.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about the book. So again, if you don't know, the book is called The Turnaround: Parenting Tips for Improving Your Child's Academic Success. Yeah, hold it up. How to make your child smarter. I got my copy too. Learning ready and nonviolent. So what you gave briefly, what's in the book, but just without giving away the whole book, just what are some things that are in the book that you think people would be interested in and people should be reading?
Well, one of the things is crucial today is the financial chapter I have in my book. That we have to realize as parents that we have to prepare our children to take care of their money, to maintain their money, to spend their money in a productive and beneficial way for ourselves. Mm-hmm. So I talk about the law of supply and demand. When is it best to buy a product or a service? I talk about the difference between debit and credit, the difference in different bank accounts. And why. And those lessons that parents should be teaching their children, not to just give, but the process is more important. So we have to teach our children processes. How do you go about producing money or growing money, as opposed to just giving our children money? How do you go about being able to buy an automobile? How do you go about being able to purchase a home? How do you save? What percentage do you save? So all of these things are important. And we have to give our children those experiences at a young age. Let them make mistakes. Don't make them feel bad when they make a mistake at a young age. This is how they learn. This is a learning process. So that chapter is really important, as well as every chapter I have in the book. Mm-hmm. It's really important. I tell parents what children should know when they enter kindergarten. I was so glad that Mayor Kinney, he fulfilled his promise of the daycare centers, the
tax credit or whatever.
The centers that prepare children at a younger age to start the learning process at a younger age. And that's so important, because the younger you start, the more ingrained that information is going to be. And the younger you teach anything to anybody, it just stays with them longer. It just helps them to build upon that information and knowledge sooner. So it makes them more proficient at a younger age.
Mm-hmm. Now, before we move on, if people do want to get the book, how can they get a copy of your book?
They can go to www.theturnaroundparentingtips.com. That's www.theturnaroundparentingtips.com.
Okay. The turnaround parentingtips.com.
That's right.
Okay, putting that down there so people can put that in the chat. So also, yes, we do have some people watching live on Facebook. So go to the turnaroundparentingtips.com. I'll put the URL in there. The turnaroundparentingtips.com. Also, if you're watching live, please drop a comment in. Please like. Please get some hearts. Also, please share. If you haven't shared already, please share this information. This is how we build Black media. These are the type of conversations we should be having on CNN or MSNBC or local news. But you see, most of the time, we don't hear these conversations. We don't hear from a lot of intelligent Black people that, talk about information in our community that's going to empower us. We would rather have information that's negative, reality TV, all that type of stuff, all the problems with media and the portrayal of Black people in media. We need these intelligent conversations in media. That is why we have social media now. We have the direct-to-consumer relationship. We don't have to go to the big higher-ups, the gatekeepers. We can do it on our own. That's the beauty of technology.
Yes, and that's the reason we have to counter the image that is portrayed, because we can't control that. That's not going to change, because that's for a reason. The schools are structured for a reason. They're structured for the success of some people and the failure of other people, unfortunately. So I have seen where opportunities present themselves to African American students, but because they have not been successful with foundation to take advantage of those situations, they lost out because they didn't have the abilities, weren't sure if they could do what they could do. But we want to produce children who are capable and feel that they can do it, and they have the foundational skills in order to achieve. Now, I'm not saying everybody should go to college, because vocational schools and the vocations are just as good occupations as what college can produce. Because if you have vocational skill, you can go into your own business. So, those skills, be a carpenter, electrician, heating and air conditioning, an auto mechanic, all of those are viable occupations. However, you have to be prepared to study to be those occupations. Mm-hmm. So we want our children to be able to take advantage of any option they want. Mm-hmm. And so it's up to us as parents to prepare them to take advantage of that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So everyone watching, I please hope you are listening. If you come in and watch this on the replay, drop a comment in. But this is information that is crucial about parenting for our children. What's more important than that? Let me know what is more important than that. I don't know many other things that are more important than that, but I don't hear this type of dialogue talked about enough. It needs to be talked about enough. This is why she's talking about it. This is why she dropped the book. It is the turnaroundparentingtips.com. The turnaroundparentingtips.com. Buy Black. Buy Black. Buy Black. She is a Black. Yes, she is a Black business owner. We'll talk about that. And I Buy Black, your association with I Buy Black. We'll talk about it in a moment. But also, I want to know, what was the process like for writing the book? Me personally, I'm actually in the process of writing a book. Hopefully, it should be released by June, by the summertime. I hope everything is done by then. I haven't announced it publicly a lot yet, but yes, my book is in the works. Hopefully, it will be done by the summer. It's going to be about finance and financial literacy, how to have the correct mindset, because financial literacy is 90% mind. I could go, I'm not going to talk about like data and graphs and big financial terms, but I can talk about. But I want to talk about how to shift your mindset. How to shift your mindset, whether you make $8 an hour and you start taking $5, $10 a day to put it in savings or investing like that, or you make six figures, and 1/3 of people that make six figures still live check to check. because they, have high expenses, they have high mortgages, rent, car notes, credit card debt, stuff that they really can't afford, because they see a lot of money come in, but they're not, doing it smart.
Mm-hmm.
So that's about my book. But just what was your process like?
Congratulations, first of all, Ryan.
Oh, well, thank you.
Congratulations. I will definitely purchase one.
Well,
Save
thank you.
me.
Yeah, I will definitely. Thank you. So hopefully by the summertime that'll be out. But just what was your process like for that? I mean, I know people that have taken 3, 4, 5, 10 years to write a book. I've heard a lot about just time and getting in the mindset and writing. But just what was the process like? Because I mean, that's a huge accomplishment in itself. A lot of people talk about stuff, but actually getting a book out in printed that you can purchase, that is an accomplishment. So what was that process like?
First of all, belief in yourself, belief that you can do it, and having the passion that you have a message that you want people to hear, that you want a change to be made. And that is a vehicle for that passion and that change. I wrote the tenets or wrote these steps in 1999, actually.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I would give parenting workshops, and I, after I became a certified parenting educator, but individuals around me in the school would say, you'll never be able to change how parents, parent their children. That's something that you'll never be able to change. Now, I know I won't be able to change everybody, but if I can change some, one household at a time, that's okay with me.
Exactly.
And what I did was I always had my pad and paper around me all the time. So when I would see something, I was in the supermarket or see a parent-child interaction that I wanted to improve and knew that the improvement would benefit the child, I would write it down and include it in my book. Sometimes when you're asleep and you get epiphanies or some things come to you, write it down because you will forget it. And write down why. And then I organized it, identified some justifications in terms of some experts, psychologists, behavioral psychologists, psychiatrists, and to support my feelings and my views. I did that research. And because it's geared to the African American community, I just picked out things that I felt that would benefit the African American community. And also, through my experience or observation in families and just through observation, through study, through the things that I wanted people to know, I compiled all of that. And it was a process. It took a few years. But once you're finished, it's you feel so grateful and so you feel accomplished, and also that the most important thing is that if you can change communities, I think it's so important for our men to know the importance of being in the community. When I look at certain communities and see our children running crazy and they're fighting, and and I have a theory on fighting that, well, I won't go into all my theories, but that the men should be in the communities with the women raising these children. But it was strategic that that a lot of our men are in jail.
Yeah, that's true. Mass incarceration.
Mass incarceration was for a purpose.
Yes.
Because of well, there are reasons why they want to destroy the Black family. Because when you destroy the Black family, then we don't have a secured leg to stand on, so to speak. So I like to see our men back in the households more. Our men in the communities monitoring, being watchful of our children in the communities, taking them to certain sports events, organizing sports events, giving them an alternative to spend their spare time. Because two things can't occupy the same space. So, like, instead of being out there, being idle, we need to show our children what they should be doing in that spare time. That it's cool to be smart. That it's cool to get good grades. My daughter recruits helps to recruit for University of Virginia. She goes into the Black schools and she says, Mom, it's terrible that that they don't have the grades to get into college most times. And it's not because they're not smart. It's because of the patterns and, what they've set up for themselves, all those years before even getting into high school.
Mm-hmm. And absolutely. And I've kind of come from that culture where it was like, it wasn't cool to be smart. Like I went to college and a lot of people, will think something about you like you're soft or you're acting white or something like that if you go to college. Like, how ridiculous is that?
Is that ridiculous? Is that ridiculous?
It is ridiculous. And I have experienced that. And what's interesting too, as well, just made me think of like the parents and fathers in the household. You actually went to school with my father that I didn't know until a few months ago when I first got the book, when Aunt Helen was there. That you did go to school with my father, which was very just interesting to me. And that's just something that I struggle with. He passed away when I was only 5. So me, just growing up, I didn't have the black man in the house, so not that he left or, anything. He just unfortunately passed away. And then my dad didn't have any brothers. My mom doesn't have any brothers. We have uncles like on my grandparents' side, which are a little bit older. So I just didn't see that. I do have an older brother, my dad's older son, but he's 20 years older than me, and he didn't live in Philadelphia. He doesn't live in the city. So, me growing up, I didn't see that in the household, and just growing up and doing the things that I really shouldn't have been doing, as a teenager, stuff like that. So I think it is crucial. It is crucial that if you are there, make sure you are in the household. If you can't be in the household for whatever reason, just make sure you are present. Because me personally, I would have loved to have a father to talk to or grow up with, stuff like that when I needed it. And that's just, people don't realize how much of a difference that makes if you're not in that situation.
Yes. So we women have to realize how important it is for our sons to have fathers, interact with, to show them how to be men. We can take them to a certain point, but we really need a man to show them how to react and act in certain situations as men. And it is unfortunate that when our young people lose their fathers. I went to elementary school with your auntie, and I knew your dad, and you're just as handsome as your dad was.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so I hope that a lot about him and his legacy that he left behind, and how important it is for us to leave a legacy behind for our children. Now, that's not always just about us, but it's about the people we affect in this life.
Absolutely. Also, too, people, if you're just coming on, the reminder, if you are in the Philadelphia area, we have our next I Buy Black meeting this Saturday, 10 a.m. till 12 p.m. It's at the Masjid Allah in Limekiln Pike, I believe.
Yes, Washington Lane and Limekiln Pike.
Yep, Washington Lane and Limekiln Pike, West Oak Lane section of the city. Please come out. We'll be talking about investing, stock market, cryptocurrency. I've had a lot of people already reach out. We got ads running on Facebook and on radio. A lot of people have been inquiring about this. I think I'll be giving some information. I may be speaking. I think Ali said I was speaking. I forget. Maybe. You may need me to speak, so I'll be there. I'm sure Miss Kelly will be there. She comes to all. She's been a loyal supporter of the I Buy Black movement. So if you're in Philadelphia area, please come out. Limekiln Pike and Washington Lane, 10 a.m. till 12 p.m. Saturday, which is the 13th, I believe.
Yes.
Okay, so with I Buy Black, what made you just want to, I guess, be part of the network? What are your thoughts on it? Just on the whole I Buy Black movement. There are a lot of other movements going on, like there's We Buy Black. There's Dr. Boyce Watkins and his whole platform. So a lot of people are, I guess, becoming more conscious. But what just made you want to be part of the I Buy Black network?
Well, I'm from an entrepreneurial family. Started working at the age of 12. Didn't appreciate it then, but I appreciate it now.
Yeah.
All the skills that I learned, all the skills and knowledge I learned as a 12-year-old, starting to work in my mother and father's steak shop and Chickenette on Germantown Avenue. Yes, and how important it was that we supported a Black, that people supported us as business people, because we would have been able to succeed.
Exactly.
my dad had he sponsored baseball team that provided young people an opportunity to spend productive time doing something. Business people, it's important that we buy Black, because if we don't support our businesses, they won't succeed. We have to be able to own something in this world. If we don't, we will permit other people to determine our destiny.
Exactly.
And we can't let especially our enemy, to determine our destiny. So we have to have something of our own. And so that's the reason I know the effects of businesses in the community. They pay taxes that go into public goods. That supports our libraries, our trash pickup, street cleaning, even street lights. That taxes pay for those. Education, our schools are supported by our taxes. We employ our own individuals. My dad employed all Black people.
Yep.
That gave jobs to the community, and consequently, they pay taxes that go into the community. And so it's a cycle, a circular, effect in the community. We hire people, we pay public goods to support our community. We give out scholarships. We produce things to do in the community, and we give back to the community. Now, there are too many people in our community right now taking money from us and don't give anything back to our community. And we have to think about that.
Exactly.
When you go into a store, you spend your money, what are they doing for you? Because they should do something for you. You just shouldn't be supporting them and their culture. So we have to think about that.
Absolutely. I mean, we send the kids to college and, have them build legacies and wealth for their families. But, what do we get?
What do we get?
Exactly. If it's fast food, we may get the fast food, or we may get other things, whether it's Asians, with the laundromats, the hair, the other people in the community with the corner stores and stuff like that. But what do we get of substance in our community? But what do they get? They get business. They get to grow the business. They get to send their kids to college. They get to feed their family. But what do we get?
Yeah.
That is why we need to be cognizant of buying Black. That is why they started I Buy Black. That is why we're doing the weekly conference calls and the monthly meetings and everything to just increase awareness. Because like you said, I mean, if we don't buy Black, more than likely, nobody else is going to buy from that business. I rarely, not never, but rarely see like white people or Asians or other ethnic groups come and buy from a Black-owned business. They don't.
And what it's telling, when I was in the classroom, because I teach business, I taught business at the high school level. When I asked them one day, we were talking about, how businesses are structured and organized and all of that. And we talked about some things that would prevent you from buying from a business. And one of the white students raised her hand and said, well, if the business is Black. I said,
whoa.
He said, well, if the business is Black, that would prevent you from buying from them. And I said to the other students, because there were some Black students in that classroom, and I said, did you hear what he said? Did you hear what he said?
And I mean, I gotta respect the honesty, because that's how they all think. But only a certain amount of them are actually going to say that. So, I mean, I would rather you say that to me that I know the answer anyway. But I'd rather hear you say it than you act like you're going to, but you really know you're not. So, but that is, important that we know exactly where we stand, and people definitely need to know where we stand.
That's the innocence of youth, because his parents probably would have never said it to me.
Exactly.
But act that way, but he heard it at home. Because those things are taught. They know that we have to support ourselves, as nobody else will.
Absolutely. So just one of the last questions I have for you is just that I'm curious of, like, what was it like before? I mean, without giving your age away, you look 35 to me. But just, were there more Black-owned businesses, like, I guess, years ago, 30, 40 years ago? as opposed to now? Or have you seen that dynamic change? I know before, I guess like integration, we kind of didn't have any choice but to start businesses and have our own bus companies and own, clubs or restaurants and stuff because we couldn't eat into the white neighborhoods, mostly down south. A lot of segregation was up north too, what they don't teach us in school. There was a lot of segregation up north. But do you see like a big difference, I guess, like for as business ownership back then as opposed to now?
I see a big difference. Years ago, when we had our 2 stores, there are 2 gas stations, one on each corner around us. They were both Black owned. My mother's friend owned 13 cleaners in various communities. Yes. My uncle had his bar and he had a beer distributor and several properties. There were other bar owners in the community and we owned our supermarkets, cleaners, shoe repairs. We had to depend upon ourselves because nobody was giving out jobs to Black men in Philadelphia, no industry. I think Bud started hiring in the 70s? Maybe Bud started hiring, but we had to depend upon ourselves. So I think we had more Black businesses then. Then they brought the Asians in because there weren't a lot of Asians when I was in school, when I was coming up, when we had our business. And we're talking about people who can hardly speak English. And you need some expertise to be able to interpret some of the documents to go into business. So somebody helped them to do that. See, it was all strategic. And they came into our communities, bought these buildings, blocks of buildings. And somebody helped them to do that. So somebody arranged for that to happen. Because, at any time Black people have the wherewithal, we go with it. And we had our Black businesses and we're doing well with our beer distributors and the whole thing. And so they look at that. Now, I'm not saying that banks were not cooperative with us, because I remember my parents went to First Pennsylvania Bank on the corner of Carpenter Lane and Germantown Avenue. And first they told them, when they wanted a loan to expand, to buy another building, because we bought the buildings, not only just had the business, we
owned the property.
We owned the buildings, we owned the property. And they told them, oh, you don't have enough money. And then they saved and, had equity, more equity, went back. And he said to them, oh, you have too much money. You don't need it. And so one of the other workers in First Pennsylvania Bank called my dad up and said, I see how they're treating you. Come back. I'll give you the loan. Now, if it weren't for that kind-hearted person, it would still be, the redlining and, the refusal of loans so that we can get ahead. Because let's face it, we do need a lump sum. We do need that startup capital. And it's difficult to save up if you're living and supporting a family to have all that startup capital. You do need a loan. So I hope that the banks are not redlining as much, because it's very secretive what they do and how they do it. So I hope that's gotten better. But, as I said, when I was coming up, we had more Black businesses that are visible. This is why I jumped on board. I want to see more Black businesses, but I want to see quality products. But we have to remember that it's just not selling the product. It's presenting a product that is going to sustain them, that people are going to want. No.
That's a very, very important point. As Black business owners, and we saying buy Black, but at the same time, don't just buy Black to buy Black, when it's a terrible product, it's a terrible service, it's a terrible business, whether they're Black, white, green, or Chinese, don't buy a bad product. But we as Black business owners, we need to raise the bar. We need to be up to par on the service and product that we're providing, because at the end of the day, we have to be professional. We have to be professionals. We have to provide great service, great products, everything like that. I just love everything you're talking about. I love everything you're talking about. Seriously. So everyone that has been watching, thank you guys for watching. Again, if you want to go to ibuyblack.org, get a discount card and roll your business. And also, if you haven't, please go to theturnaroundparentingtips.com, theturnaroundparentingtips.com, and get a copy of her book. We need you guys' support. Buy Black. Don't just buy Black to buy Black. Buy Black because this is a great book. She's giving so much great information about something we need to be talking about. Because, I mean, let's be honest. Our children, our community, we're suffering. We're suffering. It really not hard. You can drive around Philly and North Philly, West Philly, South Philly, other parts, New York, Baltimore, DC, all the way up and down the coast to the West Coast. Look at the children in the community. Look what's going on in the community. We are suffering.
Mm-hmm.
We are suffering.
And I also want to say, Ryan, if any organization or any group wants me to come and talk to parents, I would love to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I love talking to parents and getting their feedback, and also just giving them some tips as to how we can do it better in our community.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That is why we need people like you that want to give back, because there are a lot of people that know all the information you're talking about, but, they say I'm retired or I've built, I'm living okay. I don't really care about going back. My kids are okay. I know your kids are, successful college graduates. So it's easy for you to be like, well, I've raised my kids and they're fine. You know what I mean? I see what's going on in the community, but I just want to, stay comfortable in retirement. But that's why we love people like you that truly want to give back, truly want to share information. So anybody that has a nonprofit, if you have a church, any type of organization, love to bring Miss Kelly in, talk to the parents, talk to other people in the community, and just get this information out to the people. Any last words you have before we wrap?
I want to tell parents that the biggest influence is they are the biggest influence in their children's lives. Yeah. And if they start the process, just a loving process, an informational process to prepare their children, starting from birth, their children are going to be better off. They'll be going to be better prepared. Love them. Instill a self-esteem within them. Years ago, we didn't realize as parents how important it is to instill a positive self-esteem in our children. Mm-hmm. To let them know that they are somebody. Yeah. Even before they accomplish anything outside the home, to let them know that they are somebody and they can do anything they want to do. Mm-hmm. Because if you think you're good, you're going to act good. If you think you're bad, you're going to act bad. It comes from within. Mm-hmm. That conviction, that core belief system starts from within. And it's up to us as parents to instill that they are valuable, worthy, they're loving, they're capable, and they can be very productive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, great. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for all the important information. Thank you for writing the book. Thank you for being a resource in the community. Thank you for everything you're doing in Philadelphia and outside. Just thank you much for your time coming in today, just sharing some information with the people. Thank you so much. Again, everybody, if you haven't, go to theturnaroundparentingtips.com, theturnaroundparentingtips.com. You get a copy of her book. It won't cost you any more than probably going out to a restaurant, going to the movies. $15. It won't cost you. You can barely get a cup of coffee through Starbucks from that amount of money. People will be so quick to do that, but won't support an author who's trying to just give information that is crucial to the survival of the race. Again, crucial to the survival of our race.
Yes.
So that's it for today. Everyone come out to I Buy Black meeting on Saturday, 10 to 12, Limekiln Pike and Washington Lane, and go to theturnaroundparentingtips.com, theturnaroundparentingtips.